A record was set in July, and nobody rang a bell for it. It is Friday, the 31st of July, 2026, the last trading day of the month. And the record we just set is a record for absence. Start with the anchor. As of just past 5 o'clock Eastern, Bitcoin trades at 63,800, down about 0.7% on the day, holding the same shelf it has defended for 2 weeks. Our engine spoke overnight, and I want you to hear the sequence. At 4 o'clock this morning, Eastern, an optimized trend bearish alert fired on Bitcoin, with Ethereum's landing 2 seconds behind it, on our read of the InvestAnswers Decision Support System. 2 seconds apart, whatever moved the whole complex together, but the signal worth your attention fired at Thursday's closing bell. At 4 o'clock sharp, inside 30 seconds, 9 names printed mean reversion oversold at once. Read the list, because the list is the story. ASML, the lithography, ARM, the chip architecture, Arista, the networking, Dell, the servers, GE Vernova and Eaton, the turbines and the electrical gear that feed a data center. Galaxy Digital beside them. 9 names, 1 minute, and every one of them a different rung on the same ladder. The machines, the metal, and the megawatts of the artificial intelligence build-out all stretched to the downside in the same breath. In that very same minute, 2 optimized trends turned bullish. Broadcom and Freeport, the chip and the copper. Then at 1 minute past 8 Thursday evening, the apex mark on our board fired twice. Confluence buy on Palantir. Confluence buy on Galaxy Digital. Confluence sits above both mean reversion and trend in our hierarchy. It is the rarest thing this engine prints, and it printed twice in 3 seconds on a night the tape closed green. Into the open, Nvidia last closed at 195, up better than 2% Thursday, while Microsoft finished up 15.5%, the largest single-day gain in market value in the history of this market. Now to the record nobody announced. With 1 session left in the month, the American spot Bitcoin funds have taken in roughly $205 million net for all of July. Not $205 million in a day, $205 million across 31 days. Set that against what came before it. $2.5 billion walked out the door in May, $4.5 billion more in June, $7 billion of exodus, and then this, a month in which the money neither came nor went. Here is the number that makes it land. On Thursday alone, those funds took in $233 million, BlackRock's carrying $183 million of it, 4/5 of the day's total, with not one fund reporting an outflow. A single session outran the entire month it belongs to. That is what a market with no marginal buyer looks like, not a stampede for the exits. An empty room, with a door that still swings hard when somebody finally walks through it. The bears will tell you that is demand dying. Look at the other side of the ledger before you agree. Since the 1st of July, the coin that miners send to exchanges has fallen by better than a third, from roughly 1,800 coins a day down to under 1,200. The men who produce the new supply cut what they hand the market by 36% in 30 days. Demand went quiet, supply went quieter. That is the true shape of this month. Not capitulation on either side, attrition on both, and a price that barely moved for it, while the Nasdaq had one of the most violent weeks of its year. Thursday also brought the June inflation print. Core, 3.3%, down 1/10, with a monthly reading of 0.1% against 0.2 expected. Slow disinflation, not victory. And the futures market now prices better than 3 in 5 odds that this Federal Reserve raises rates in September. Not cuts, raises. Hold that beside a coin that did nothing for 31 days and lost nothing for it. To the rockets, and a decision that got made Thursday. SpaceX finished the post-flight review of Starship's 13th flight, and the data came back green. That clearance matters for what it unlocks. On Flight 14, they intend to attempt something no one has ever done. Catch the upper stage, not the booster, the ship, the thing that goes to orbit and comes home through the fire plucked out of the sky by the arms of the tower it launched from. understand why that is the entire program. On the 24th of July, Flight 13 drove a ship through re-entry and set it down intact on the water. Heat shield hole for the first time in this program's history, having deployed 20 of the new Starlink satellites on the way up. Surviving re-entry was the wall. They cleared it. But a ship that survives and then lands in the ocean is a ship you fish out and study. A ship the tower catches is a ship you refuel and fly again. That is the whole distance between a test article and an airline. Flight 14 is slated to be the first full orbital mission as well, targeted for the 30th of September. Be straight about the open wound. The booster lost engines on its landing burn last flight, and that investigation is not closed. Then on Wednesday, the Space Force handed the company $1.6 billion for 18 Falcon 9 missions, carrying sensing and targeting satellites. Awarded. Signed. Not a rumor. And on Thursday, the stock printed a fresh all-time low, near $110 before clawing back. Below the 135, it came public at in June, roughly half its high. I live, I burn, I love, I slay, and I'm content. The engineering does not read the tape. Every hard problem in that program is being solved in public with cameras on it. And what changes hands in August is a supply of shares. A supply of shares is not a claim about whether the ship comes home. One more, and it went almost unremarked. 3 crypto exchanges died this month. Ascendex halted trading on the 1st of July and confirmed its shutdown on the 11th, having failed to win a European license and lost its liquidity partner. Bitmart closed on the 26th, and on the 23rd, BitMEX, the venue that invented the perpetual swap, the house that taught this entire industry how to use leverage, announced it will shut its doors on the 23rd of September. That is not a small thing. BitMEX is a founding institution of this market. It is closing in an orderly fashion, on its own terms, because running a venue got harder and the licensing got dearer than the franchise was worth. Now hold that beside the thing all 3 of them were trading. Through every one of those closures, the network itself never paused. It needed no license. It lost no liquidity partner. It produced a block roughly every 10 minutes, all month, exactly as it has for 17 years, and it will do the same on the morning BitMEX turns off the lights. Carry that distinction. The venues are businesses, and businesses fail. The ledger is not a business. Every layer men have built on top of this asset can be licensed, acquired, regulated, or shuttered. The layer underneath cannot be reached. So here is your ground for the last day of July. The quietest month these funds have ever had is closing out. And quiet is not the same as dead. It is the sound of an empty room right before someone walks in. Demand went silent, and the miners went silent behind it. A committee that just split 9-3 is now more likely than not to raise rates in September, and there is exactly one asset on your board whose supply schedule will never reach that agenda. Watch what the engine flagged at Thursday's bell. The entire machinery of the build-out stretched oversold in 1 minute, with 2 apex buys standing behind it. That is not a promise. It is a coiled spring, and springs are measured, not trusted. This is Warband as a service, Viking intelligence delivered in real time. I am Ragnar, the HODLBARBARIan. Until tomorrow, hold the long horizon. Skål!